Island Railroad Committee. I am the co-chair, Mark Herbst, and the Long Island Railroad has the lead for this joint meeting, and we'd like to open up for public comments. And can we have this morning's speakers, please?
Good morning. This morning we have 12 speakers registered to speak. As a reminder, we ask all speakers adhere to MTA's rules of conduct and decorum, to address all comments through the chair, and that personal attacks are not welcome. I would like to remind public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds left to conclude your remarks. Our first speaker will be Christopher Greif, followed by Maddie W. Bucky's Highland.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christopher D. Greif, right over here on this side. Wishing everyone first happy holidays. And first, I do want to thank our MTA police for one thing, because as I'm traveling this morning, it's nice to see the officers on the platforms, not just on the subway, but the railroads as well. So we do want to thank our MTA police. And because a lot of safety came even during the holiday season, even the Metro North holiday train and our subway holiday train. Just to want to wish everyone happy holidays, and I hope in our near future that as we are getting to end of 2024, we continue advocating more of safety, more accessibility, and more working together. Long Island Railroad, thank you. Metro North, we are going to say thank you, but still need to work together. And communication, because communication is always very important, but I still want to thank you because, of course, honoring people with disabilities is a biggest help. Just hope in the near future we can work together and still work together as love and peace. And working together with accessibility is very important to everyone, especially getting on or off the trains and continue advocating. So as an advocate with disability for over 31 years, want to wish everyone happy holidays. And the presidents, I thank you so much. And I will see you guys on Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Maddie W. Bucky's Highland, followed by James Anthony.
Thank you, Andy, and I agree with Mr. Accessibility Chris Greif said over there. My name is Maddie Bucky's Highland. I'm also an advocate for people with disabilities, and I like to wish happy holidays to the president, even the co-chair, Father Mark Herbst, and Blanca Lopez, for that matter. 2024 in review has been an exciting year for the MTA. My home station of Babylon, which is near my house, is like the gateway to the world. It's now 100% ADA accessible. For example, someone could travel to Suffolk County and see maybe a friend up in Dutchess County, or maybe in Connecticut for that matter. So we hope to have some good things to come in 2025. So that's all I'm going to leave with that. Thank you, guys. God bless you. Happy holidays. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is James Anthony, followed by Mary Arnold.
Good morning. It's Jason, not James, Andy, for the correction, for the sake of argument. I want to start off with congratulating board member Neil Zuckerman that finally he received an upgrade to Garrison. It was long overdue, and we hope that he enjoys his station, that he and his constituents over there in Putnam County should have received it a long time ago. And I totally agree what he said in the press conference, that the federal government should contribute more, not less. But both railroads have done an excellent job in 2024, especially Metro North giving us the first holiday train, giving us the M8 along the 3 lines, the Hudson, Harlem, and New Haven lines. We hope that the Long Island Railroad will do the same for next year, giving us a huge surprise. Especially, I want to give a huge thank you for to Chief John Mueller that he has been doing an excellent job of being the head of MTA Police, providing an excellent job, providing us a safe experience in Penn Station, Grand Central Madison, and especially Atlanta, Terminal, Brooklyn. We hope that 2025 will be an excellent year for all of us here at the MTA family. And happy holidays and happy new year for all of us.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Mary Arnold, followed by Antonia Nadia.
Thank you. I am here today on behalf of Civics United for Railroad Environmental Solutions because Hector Garcia has failed to provide an answer to a question we first asked Jano Lieber. Will the MTA Long Island Railroad enforce the state law that requires solid covers on all gondolas of construction and demolition debris? Rail and waste industry opponents of the law sued to stop its implementation days after it was supposed to go into effect in January 2024. However, no injunction has been requested or issued to stop its enforcement. The gondolas of C&D, construction and demolition debris, have drains in the bottom and no solid covers. They emit toxic leachate, blow-off, and gas pollution in neighborhoods by your public right-of-way. In 2008, the MTA greenlighted the startup of this filthy business in Farmingdale Yard without requiring the common sense protection of solid covers. The New York State Legislature and Governor corrected this problem in 2023 by making it illegal to haul C&D without solid covers. Since January 2024, the MTA has allowed private companies to flout New York state law, harming children, families, and workers for profit. You can help end the pollution nightmare you started in violation of New York state law through your operating rules and enforcement of your transfer agreement with the New York and Atlantic Railway, which requires them to operate within New York state law. Will you or won't you? We need your help. Please. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Antonia Nadia, followed by John Brayden.
Good morning, commissioners, representatives, collaborative parties, and visitors here. I am grateful to have your attention for some of the matters that I wish to bring to your attention today. While I understand that my subject matter could differ from some of the previously mentioned topics here, I am a survivor of human trafficking, and I believe that I may have some pertinent information as to how we, as a city, as collaborative parties and representatives of the city of New York and all of its connecting points, boroughs, branches, and abilities to, create travel elsewhere, can cooperate in creating an educational sort of venue for discussing this. I myself turned my situation into an education prospect. I am currently teaching people and training people in how they can defend themselves not only physically, by physically assessing the areas surrounding them for issues, but how to identify potential targeted individuals, people who are not being treated properly. And in addition to this, how some technology on the MTA, such as these surveillance cameras, can also be abused to poorly reflect accurate information and perhaps not provide information with a valid tracking system. So in addition to what it is I'm already doing, I would like to provide the MTA an opportunity to collaborate with me if you would be interested in what it is that I can teach you about what it is that I have myself witnessed. And I yield the rest of my time. Thank you. I can be reached at antonia.backup@proton.me. And in addition to this, I have a link tree. It's linktr.ee/academia_Gothica. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is John Brayden, followed by Joseph Morales.
Hello. First, I would like to thank the MTA and the Long Island Railroad for the completion of the elevator at Massapequa Park. It had a couple of leaks when it was first installed, but overall it was operating well. It was really needed. I'd like to suggest that the Wantagh trains should be extended to Massapequa. It would help so that the following train could move quicker after Massapequa instead of having them wait to go into the yard. I would also like to suggest that the diesel trains stop in Massapequa so it would help with the work at Babylon. It would also be more convenient for people because they would only have to transfer once instead of twice. It would also be help so that people don't have to be stranded at Babylon if the diesel trains run around the Babylon trains, so that they have to wait behind the Massapequa trains and proceed once they go into the Massapequa yard. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Joseph Morales, followed by Andy Pollack.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Morales. I am a freshman civil engineering student at Manhattan University, formerly known as Manhattan College. I'm here today to discuss the Wakefield transit-oriented development. I'm really glad that we're working with Webster Leasing to make it happen. However, we should work with the city to ensure that the Metro North will be affordable for the new residents, because I'm just estimating in my head if these units are affordable based off, I live in the Northeast Bronx myself. If these units are considered affordable based off of Wakefield's AMI, most residents will not be able to afford to use the railroad at all. And we don't want a repeat of the situation near the River Park Towers, near the Morris Heights station, where the majority of people can't use the train. Even with the peak city ticket, it's just not affordable enough for the people in the community. Possible solutions, because I understand it may be hard to reduce fares more than we already have, is we could work with the city to expand fares to the railroad for people who live near it, and we could work with, in the case of the suburbs, with counties to try and do the same. Developers could even receive incentives for contributing to fares, such as height bonuses or tax credits, if that's something we could work out. Also, being able to ride not just into the city but to the suburbs is very important. My sister, she's in 7th grade. She's a competitive dancer. She dances in Tuckahoe. We drive there all the time because, simply because we don't live near Metro North Station. But that's just a few stops from Wakefield. So just evidence these places matter to people. Also, the Newburgh Beacon Ferry Agreement, I highly suggest that we work out a way to keep the memorandums going more long term, not an implication on anyone in office now, but we don't want politics to one day get in the way and make it and interrupt that service. And then instead of going through the city to lease the land, if we could find a way to lease the land directly, that would be even better to reduce the amount of bureaucracy in that agreement. I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Andy Pollack, followed by Joe Rappaport.
Good morning, everyone. Andy Pollack for the record, Passengers United. So 2 things we're going to discuss this month. First up, the Auburndale situation. First of all, the community was not too thrilled regarding the elevator project. Why would the MTA pick this specific time of the year when Auburndale sees its highest ridership than any other travel period in an entire calendar year to not have an elevator? This project should have begun in January, but the MTA just seems to not carefully consider scheduling options. And so now we are stuck with either the nearby Broadway or Bayside stations for elevator service. The signage is not even accurate even to direct people to use the 2 nearby stations, and not to mention, on the Port Washington branch, conductors are violating the Americans with Disabilities Act by not mentioning that there's no elevator service available at Auburndale. Next thing I want to bring up is the incident that occurred last Sunday on December the 8th. Now, initially, there were 911 calls suggesting that the drunk driver who got onto the tracks on the main line was actually spotted near exit 28B, Union Turnpike, swerving lanes on the Cross Island Parkway. This driver was able to get into an unsecured area at exit 28D. And so what I'm requesting is that the MTA secure that area near the UBS Arena Elmont Station, because we don't want to see another incident like December 8th happen again, where somebody can just get on the tracks and basically suspend the entire main line. So that's pretty much it. Happy holidays, and I expect to speak again in 2025.
Thank you for your. Our next speaker is Joe Rappaport, followed by Alita Dupree.
Good morning. I'm Joe Rappaport from the Brooklyn Center for Independence of the Disabled. Last month, we called on the MTA board member David Mack to resign.
I'm sorry. Please remember that personal attacks against board members are not allowed.
I think this is perfectly appropriate. Last month, we called on MTA board member David Mack to resign.
Please remember that
because of
personal
disturbing-
attacks against board
because of
members
a-
are not allowed.
It's not an attack. He's a board member, a public official. I represent an organization. We're not saying that he did something that was illegal. We're not making something up. He did do something that, in fact, was illegal, and we called on him to resign. It's pretty simple. Let me explain. Because of a disturbing pattern of behavior, including, most recently, parking illegally at an accessoride spot during an MTA meeting. He parked only in part of the spot, he explained to Newsday. So, that's an illegal act. Mr.
Please
Mack.
refrain from attacking board members.
Okay. Mr. Mack declined to resign.
Please conclude your remarks.
I am. We still think he should. However, though he's not here today.
Thank you for your.
Hold on.
Thank you for your remarks.
Really appropriate. We do hope that at the very, very least, Mr. Mack will actually start riding the subways. He's admitted that he hasn't. As often as he drives into the city. This is, after all, Metro North, Long Island.
Our next speaker will be Alita Dupree.
Representing Long Island Railroad.
Thank you. Good morning to the joint chairs of the committee. Alita Dupree, for the record, she and her with Team Folds talk about railroad today. How about some Grand Central Terminal for you? I am going to start off talking about Grand Central. It's the world's largest railroad station. It's even bigger than it was before. And how do we keep that up? We have this new Grand Central Madison, which I enjoy, and the historic Grand Central Terminal, which I have enjoyed since fall of 1980. But we really have to get work on that train shed. Things you can't see, but we have to make sure that we fund that and finish it, just like I said last month. In watching your last meeting, I'm very encouraged about a pilot using renewable fuel in a work locomotive. And this is a very big start, a very good start, because other railroads are using renewable fuel. And we want to move away from straight petroleum diesel, and renewable fuel will buy us time toward electrification. And in reading fare tables, and I've been using these railroads since 1970, I think we really have to move toward consistent fare policy. Even with the experience I have with train time, ensuring peak travel, off-peak travel, buying the proper fare can be challenging, even though the app helps. You have to ask how many people are having problems on the trains because they buy the wrong kind of fare based on the time of day. So I think we have to fix that. But most of all, I let you know I take my Grand Central Terminal very seriously, but it's something that I enjoy very much. So I look forward to your discussion today about matters on railroads. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Ron Mitchell. Is Mr. Mitchell online? Our final speaker will be Jack Connors.
Good morning. I'm Jack Connors, Research and Communications Associate at the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA PCAC. It's great to see 44 new dual-mode locomotives coming to the rescue in the LIRR's diesel territory, with $1.5 billion coming to the LIRR from congestion pricing, plus desperately needed M9s in the MTA's proposed 5-year capital plan. New York is poised to make the largest investment in rolling stock in MTA history. This would not be possible without Governor Hochul and the legislature, who have made an unprecedented investment in both capital projects and operations. In this year's New York State budget, we hope to see this trend continue. We've proposed 5 fare policies that should be implemented in tandem with congestion pricing, as well as this year's fare adjustment. Carrots, if you will. Our Rider First fare agenda would make New York more affordable, address fare evasion, and overall simplify fare collection and payment for employees and riders alike. First, PCAC recommends creating a weekly city ticket with available discounted transfers to New York City Transit. 1.5 million city tickets were sold in 2023, generating $8.1 million in revenue. Let's build on this success. Next, there are too many neighborhoods served by the LIRR and Metro North where cost is a barrier to access. We must expand fares to 200% of the federal poverty level and to the 39 commuter railroad stations within New York City. Across the railroads, we hope to see a mid-kid discount for 12 to 17-year-olds riding with adult, and finally allowing seniors and disabled riders to use their discounts in the AM peak period. With congestion pricing and next year's biannual fare adjustment on the horizon, now is the time to give New Yorkers their time and money back. Our Rider First fare agenda ensures all riders can access the fastest transit available to them, tackling our affordability crisis head-on by making fast, clean transit more affordable to all New Yorkers, especially families and seniors. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Chair, that concludes our public comment speakers.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for the public for your comments this morning. We will now move on to the key performance metric reports, but they are all included in the book, so if you want to take a look at those. And next is the joint railroad administrative items. Temporarily, because of the need for a quorum, we will postpone the approval of the minutes. And next item is the 2024 work plans. Again, that is also, there are no changes to the Long Island Railroad or Metro North work plans that are in the book, correct? Yes, okay, so now on to the agency president's report. We will now hear from the president's report from both railroads. Rob, you will go first, as Long Island Railroad's in the lead.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. November was another strong month in terms of ridership, even with the normal dip associated with the holiday weekend, Thanksgiving. Total ridership for the month of November was 6.3 million riders, an increase of 9.1% over November of 2023, and represents 87% of November 2019 ridership. November year-to-date ridership is up 15.9% compared to year-to-date November 2023. Non-commutation ridership was up 10.1% compared to November of 2023, and November year-to-date non-commutation is up 20.6% compared to November of 2023, and up 16.5% compared to November of 2019. We also set a single-day post-pandemic ridership record the day before Thanksgiving with 284,693 riders. So some strong ridership numbers in light of the normal dip, as I said, with the holiday. November also had some on-time performance records as well. Total on-time performance for the month of November was 96.2%, which is our highest November on record in our recorded history. We also had a best ever off-peak on-time performance at 96.4%. So a great month in terms of ridership and on-time performance as well. Congratulations to the operations team and their incredible work. Just a brief summary of what service we're going to provide with the upcoming holidays. Christmas Eve will be a normal weekday schedule, and Christmas Day will be a holiday/weekend schedule. New Year's Eve will be a normal weekday schedule. However, we'll provide 11 extra westbound trains into the city in the evening, and New Year's Day will be a holiday/weekend schedule. And again, we'll provide 12 extra eastbound trains after midnight for those heading east. We're also providing extra service for the Billy Joel concert on New Year's Eve as well at UBS Arena. And I can't really stress enough how difficult it is on these major holidays to provide all this service. So it's really a testament to the team at the Long Island Railroad, employees for showing up and taking time away from their families, and the planners and the operations folks are putting this all together. Really quite remarkable. In the spirit of giving, all month long, our employees have been donating food and personal care items at employee locations throughout our system in support of Long Island Cares and Island Harvest. Their efforts and these donations help the area's most vulnerable population throughout the holiday season. And on Wednesday, December 11th, we held our first Long Island Railroad Day of Giving so that our generous customers also had a convenient way to help those in need. At both Penn Station and Grand Central Madison, our customers came through with donations of non-perishable food items for those less fortunate. In addition, New York Cares has been accepting old coats at Penn Station and Grand Central Madison between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., Tuesday through Thursdays, and this will run through this Friday, December 20th. I am extremely proud and thankful for the generosity of our employees and customers. We all know how beautiful Grand Central Madison is and receives accolades on a daily basis from those who visit the terminal. But now it's receiving recognition on an international scale. This month, Grand Central Madison won UNESCO's 2024 Prix Versailles World's Most Beautiful Station Special Prize for an Interior. Prix Versailles is the top architectural award in the world, and selections are made by a panel of globally recognized architects. An official UNESCO plaque recognizing the award will be installed in the station soon. Once again, I want to congratulate everyone who made it possible from concept to completion. As we all know, the very mild and dry fall created severe drought conditions that were ripe for brush fires throughout our region. And so on November 20th, I met with Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine, fire marshals, and first responders to inspect one of our pumper tank cars that helps control brush fires along our right-of-way. Each pumper tank car holds 10,000 gallons of water and are staged within our system during the brush fire season. Now, this season was a little different as they're normally tucked away, so this season was extended a little bit. But working with Suffolk County and the town of Southampton, we operated the tanker cars east of Spionk to mitigate brush fire threats and keep our community safe. We're happy to assist these municipalities and is a great example of government agencies working together to maximize resources for the benefit of our communities. Missing third rail contact shoes from our trains have the potential to cause widespread delays and equipment damage. These shoes, as they are called, draw power from the third rail from a fleet of electric cars. Shoes can get sheared off at times due to a third rail defect or debris along the right-of-way, and typically happens without warning. When this occurs, our crews are deployed throughout the system to manually inspect the third rail and figure out where it happened. To streamline this process, our engineering forces have successfully tested a detection system for missing third rail contact shoes. If a shoe is missing, this system will detect it and send a notification to our engineering system operators so that the train can be met and inspected. It also significantly narrows down the area that needs to be inspected by personnel, thus saving time, delays, and further damage to our infrastructure. The plan moving forward is to deploy these detection systems throughout our electrified territory. Great job by our engineering team, and I want to thank you for this exciting innovation. And finally, on behalf of the entire Long Island Railroad team, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and safe holiday season. That concludes my report, and I'll answer any questions, and I tried to get it brief for the holiday season. I know everyone wants to get out of here.
Okay, do we have any questions? David, Daniel?
Thank you very much, and Rob, congratulations on a lot of good numbers in there. I just wanted to probe a little bit on the the on-time performance numbers, which look very good, and also some record-setting numbers in November. But I wanted to just get clarity on one point. The way we measure on-time performance here, I know that this is the share of trains that arrive at their terminus station within 6 minutes on schedule. Is there any distinction made between a train that is 7 minutes late and 30 minutes or 60 minutes late, or do those all fall into the same category?
No, they're all considered a late train, but we do track trains that are over 15 minutes late, because that's what we consider a significant delay, and they are within our numbers. And we could produce more detailed information. But yes, we do track those numbers. And I don't know off the top of my head, but I can say with confidence they're significantly down this year from what I recall. But we can provide some numbers. But they are tracked, and we do internally categorize them as more of a significant delay. Just on that, and I know Tommy's giving an on-time performance summary, but what we've tried to have done this year is to really, I'll say in some ways, compartmentalize delays, right? When you mentioned this, the 5 minutes and 59 seconds is an on-time train, right? That's throughout the duration of the train. What we've done on our own is identify Jamaica as a major hub. I don't know if you recall the presentation that I gave, because we want to make sure we're so reliant on transfers. We've identified that as a location that while a train may arrive 5 minutes and 59 seconds and be on time, that could impact someone's transfer at Jamaica. So we've set goals in Jamaica for even a higher standard for trains to arrive Jamaica to improve the customer experience. So those are the proactive steps we're taking to try and improve in performance.
Okay, that all makes sense. And I would be interested in knowing some of the stats on significant delay, because I think those are the things, putting aside the missed transfer, which obviously has a major impact on any commuter's experience, but the significant delays, which send you completely off track, if you'll forgive the expression, those are the ones which make people really, truly crazy.
Well, off the top of my head, I believe as well, the majority of delays, I think it's 30-something%, arrive 6 or 7 minutes late. So they're at the lower end of the delay range. That's where the majority of our delays reside. I'm rusty at it. I don't know the specific numbers, but the bulk of delays, take place within that bucket.
Okay,
So,
great. We can follow up on that. And Mr. Chairman, is this the time to talk about the acquisition of locomotives? Is this, or is that at a later date?
Can we hold off till later in the meeting?
Of course,
because the
we can.
presentation will be
Okay.
made soon.
You got it. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, do we have any other questions for the chairman, for the president? Okay, well, thank you, Rob. And now we're going to move on to the Metro North Railroad. Kathy, you have a report?
I do. Good morning,
Thank you.
everybody. I'll now present the Metro North President's Report. We too have good news about ridership. November's ridership was 5.7 million, which is a 13.2% decrease from October, but that was predictable for a couple reasons. First, because of the Thanksgiving holiday. Second, because November had 4 fewer weekdays the month of October. And finally, because our extremely popular leaf peeping season finally was winding down in the month of November. But I do want to highlight the fact that not only was Thanksgiving ridership between Wednesday and Sunday 9.1% higher than last year, it was actually nearly 12% higher than the same days in 2019 before the pandemic. This speaks clearly to how strong our discretionary ridership is post-pandemic. Coming into December, we're seeing strong weekend ridership, operating extra shopper special trains on the New Haven line, and adding capacity to our electric trains on all 3 lines. People are going places throughout the region, and they're using our trains to get there. Just this past weekend, we operated 3 extra shopper special trains on the New Haven line, as well as 48 trains with 12 cars and 58 trains with 10, adding nearly 16,000 seats of capacity to our weekend trains. And I've got some late-breaking news with respect to our weekend ridership. Saturday and Sunday, higher calculated ridership than pre-COVID. On Saturday, 1.2% higher than in 2019. Saturday was SantaCon, as we all know. And on Sunday, 1.3% higher than in 2019. So on the whole, very good news with respect to our discretionary ridership during the holidays. Like Long Island, I'd like to go into just a little bit of detail with respect to our holiday schedule. Both Christmas and New Year's are in the middle of the week this year, which alters our service plan. Details are in our committee book, but the summary is that we'll operate a Friday schedule each weekday during Christmas week because of the anticipated lower office work ridership. We'll operate a regular weekday schedule during New Year's week with extra service on New Year's Eve night, both before and after the ball drops in Times Square. On Christmas Day and New Year's Day, we'll operate hourly service in each zone with longer intervals on the Wassaic, Danbury, and Waterbury branches, and we'll also operate extra trains on the New Haven line on New Year's Day. All the schedules are available on MTA Train Time and on the point-to-point schedules on the MTA website. Excuse me. Last week, Neil and I and the governor and Jano and several local elected officials were at Garrison Station to highlight the state of good repair station investments that were made through the MTA Capital Program and managed by MTA Construction and Development. These enhancements included replacing numerous sections of platforms, adding new railings, installing new tactile strips, upgrading expansion joints, making various concrete repairs, and completely overhauling the 2 staircases to the pedestrian overpass. These are the kinds of repairs and improvements that are necessary 40 years after this outdoor structure was erected. Our MOW structure, station, and facilities team was responsible for overhauling the 2 staircases leading to the overpass, while the platform improvements were delivered by the C&D contractor, again demonstrating the effective partnership between the railroad and C&D that supports our stations. The governor, the chair, Neil, and I talked more on the train back to Manhattan about the need to fund the railroad's capital program to support our ongoing commitment to maintaining the safety, functionality, and longevity of our stations and our entire infrastructure, ensuring that we're able to continue to deliver dependable service to our customers. On November 6th, Metro North hosted the inaugural Northeast Railroad Training Consortium at our training center in Grand Central Terminal. This milestone event brought together approximately 60 participants from Metro North, the Long Island Railroad, SEPTA in Philadelphia, New Jersey Transit, Amtrak, and Keolis to enhance operations training and foster regional collaboration across the various railroad agencies between Washington, D.C. and Massachusetts. The consortium shifted the focus beyond regulatory compliance to emphasize sharing of best practices, driving of innovation and training, and strengthening our workforce development. The event featured engaging agency presentations, breakout sessions on key topics such as conductor training and digital training innovations, and the introduction of tools to facilitate our ongoing collaboration. Plans are already in motion for continued collaboration between these agencies and future annual consortiums hosted by other railroad agencies. I want to congratulate our Metro North team, along with the teams from the other agencies who were involved in the launch of this program, and we're looking forward to building on this strong foundation in the years ahead. On November 7th, 2 Metro North signal maintainers, Wayne Clark and Luke Gulligan, demonstrated exceptional dedication to public safety and quick action during an emergency near the Virginia Road crossing between North White Plains and Valhalla on the Harlem Line. While en route to a job site, they noticed smoke near the crossing and immediately activated the truck's strobe light as they headed towards the scene. When they arrived at the crossing, they discovered a car engulfed in flames on both tracks. Signal maintainer Luke Gulligan initiated an emergency radio transmission to the rail traffic controller, ensuring that all train movements were halted to protect the public and train operations. Both men then checked the vehicle and confirmed it was unoccupied. The driver had safely exited and identified himself to them on the roadside. Understanding the potential danger to others, they secured the area by protecting both ends of the crossing and flagging traffic to prevent further incidents until the MTA police arrived. I want to commend and thank both Wayne and Luke for their quick actions to assist and to protect our train operations. Their professionalism and commitment to safety reflect the best qualities of our workforce. Finally, in closing, I want to thank Susan Sarch, our Vice President and General Counsel, who's retiring after 15 years of dedicated service, leaving behind a remarkable legacy of leadership and achievements. Susan's been instrumental in shaping Metro North's legal and operational framework, and she played a key role in transformative milestones, including the acquisition of Grand Central Terminal and the Harlem and Hudson lines a few years ago. Her efforts have strengthened the railroad's foundation and the connection to the communities that we serve, and her dedication to public service has guided her actions and benefited all of us. Her collaborative leadership and unwavering commitment to Metro North's mission have set a high standard for excellence, and on behalf of Metro North, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Susan for those contributions and wish her the very, very best in her well-deserved retirement. And with that, I would like to wish everybody here a very happy holiday and a happy and healthy 2025. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Kathy. Are there any questions? Yes, Neil.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to amplify some of what I said on the very wet train platform in Garrison on Wednesday. First of all, I want to thank Kathy and Justin, who have listened to a barrage for a decade for me being on this board about my station's needs. And it was slow, but it was appropriate. It was the right thing, and it was done in a thoughtful and efficient way. It was done as we need repairs to be done. And I think one of the things as board members we do is we are sometimes focus groups of one. You know, we're out there in our little parts of the world, Dan's and his, and Vinny's and his, and yours, Mark, and we share those things. And sometimes board members can be squeaky, but at the other time, I think management knows when it's valuable, and I really do appreciate that support. The second thing I want to say is that I think we have to be really mindful about how large this capital plan is. I'm going to keep repeating this. We're getting $68 billion is what we hope to have in this plan if finally approved. This governor has been a leader in getting us finally the amount of money that really this organization, this system needs. So I'm just going to throw the math out I say a lot of times. $1.5 trillion asset, 1% a year would be $15 billion. If you think about your own house and you probably spend about 1% a year of its value fixing it, you know, the roof, the boiler, whatever it is. So $68 billion divided by 5 years is $14 billion. It's the closest we've ever gotten to that sort of 1% threshold. We've never spent this much money, and it's kind of what's needed. So that means over all the decades we've been running this place and we've even had a capital plan, we never even spent close to what was needed. And look how hard it was to deploy the money to get the money. So I want to thank the governor because her leadership allows us to have this incredible amount of spend. But then I'll make the third point, which I also made on Wednesday. I'll throw a couple other numbers out. There's a division of State University of New York, the Rockefeller Institute, that does an analysis of the balance of payments between the various states and the federal government. New York puts in $56 billion more than we get from the federal government. $56 billion. That's $2,800 per person in this state. The state of Kentucky gets $14,000 to the benefit of each state resident. Alabama, something like $2,000 to the positive. Texas even, with all that great local oil revenue, gets themselves a few $100s in a balance. We are deeply in the negative related to the federal government. And so anyone who fights against New York for having the courage to do what we've done with congestion pricing. And I do say courage because it is not, no one wants to be taxed. This is already an expensive place, though I would argue the most expensive place in America to live. And so we don't take lightly adding any more surcharges, fees, or any other tolls and fares. And yet we've got to find a way to fund that $68 billion because without it, New York falters, and so does the nation. So I'm sorry for that little speech, Mr. Chair, but you know, there's only a couple of us on the train that day, so I thought I'd just amplify those remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Finance Chair. Well versed, and I hope you are as adequate in your presentation at the next committee meeting. Thank you. Any other questions for Kathy? Yes, Dan.
Thank you. Just one. Kathy, the target distance for the mean distance between failures right now is 200,000 miles, at least it was for 2024. Looks like you're consistently beating that, like so consistently that I have to ask the question as to whether we should be changing that target number for 2025, and what also precipitated the last change in target, which looks like it happened maybe back in March. But give me the history there and tell me your thoughts on what that target should be for 2025.
Well, we revisit the target on a periodic basis, and I think that we have, as you said, we've had a good year with respect to with our fleet. One of the good news stories of our fleet this year is the acquisition of the new locomotives, and Rob is going to talk a little bit about that. We've had some issues with the reliability of our diesel fleet over time, which is something that we've been monitoring carefully with respect to, setting our mean distance between failures. With respect to adjusting the mean distance between failures for purposes of 2025, I'll certainly discuss that with Justin and our mechanical team to see whether the strong performance this year and the fact that we are going to be, acquiring the new locomotives would require us, or at least, give us the sense that we should be revisiting that number so that it's more of a stretch goal as opposed to something that we can sort of consistently, obtain.
Great, thank you. I tend to like the slight stretch goals in government so that we have something to aspire to. And since
No,
you're
understood.
doing so well here,
Yeah,
I
no,
thought I would
understood.
make the point. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you. Jerry?
Following up on the last question on the mean distance between failures, do you have different targets for different pieces of equipment? Different target for the electric, different targets for the diesel?
We do, and that's actually in the committee materials, but yes, we do.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Kathy, thank you for your report. Okay, now we will hear from Tom and Paul for a special presentation on the Long Island Railroad Operational Performance Year in Review.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone, and happy holidays. The Long Island Railroad 2024 Operations Report highlights on-time performance, ridership, MDBF, and infrastructure. We knew we had some work to do after finishing 2023 with an OTP of 93.95, missing our OTP goal of 94% by just 0.05%. Our operations team continued to make systematic, careful service modifications, equipment manipulation changes, and stopping pattern adjustments throughout the year. We even had a complete rewrite of the off-peak and weekend schedules to right-size the service to meet the customer travel patterns. Looking at the state of the current on-time performance, November on-time performance was 96.2, which was well above our 94% goal, and year-to-date on-time performance is 95.6, also above goal. Our OTP has improved in all 4 reportable categories compared to 2023. As you can see, the AM peak is up 2.7%, the PM peak is up 3.2%, the off-peak is up 1.4%, and the overall OTP is up 1.8% year-to-date. These statistical increases are a direct result of the service improvements and measures put in place to enhance our operation. Additionally, for November, 11 branches operate at or above goal, and year-to-date, 10 branches operated at or above goal. As Rob mentioned, we created a new OTP measurement in mid-2024 focused on Jamaica OTP. The goal is to have 70% of AM and PM peak trains arrive Jamaica less than 3 minutes late. The November AM peak OTP trains arriving less than 3 minutes was 54.7%. Although slightly below goal, there was some modest gains in trains getting closer to being less than 3 minutes late. The November PM peak Jamaica OTP was 70.7%, above our goal of 70%. Our operations team made 18 changes to the PM peak schedules, which paid dividends, bringing the PM peak Jamaica percentage from 59% to 70% since beginning this new assessment in July. We have a skilled group of operations staff working closely with our MTA strategic initiatives partners, refining schedules to improve AM peak Jamaica arrivals. Our customers can rest assured that even with the overall OTP trending in the right direction, we are committed to making additional enhancements to our operation. For major incidents which result in 10 or more late trains, there were 8 incidents for the month of November. The most significant occurred on November 22nd when there were slip-slide conditions resulting from rain, which impacted OTP by 0.1%. The number of major events causing 10 or more late trains has decreased by 73 occurrences in 2024 compared to 2023, which equates to a notable 38% reduction. We realize being proactive with matters that we can control is the key to preventing future problems. Our operations team have established processes and procedures to reduce the number of major incidents. To date, our 3 most significant events were the result of 2 snow and ice weather events in January and a pedestrian strike east of Mineola, things out of our control. For November, our service delivery was 99.7%, and year-to-date, our service delivery remained strong, fluctuating between 99.4% and 99.8%. The slight dip in January and February were attributed to 2 infrastructure issues that resulted in train cancellations negatively impacting our service delivery. The January event involved a railroad drawbridge near Long Beach, and the February event involved wires fouling the tracks near East New York Station. Following the bridge incident, our Maintenance of Way department made significant improvements to signal, electrical, and track components, and our mechanical department machine shop even manufactured new parts that were unavailable to obtain. Talk about cooperation. Our ridership growth is occurring both during traditional peak hours and in the off-peak, with weekends surpassing 2019 pre-COVID numbers. The steady increase is a direct result of the enhanced service we delivered at 2 major terminals in Manhattan, providing more options for our customers. Our total ridership for 2024 is just over 62 million riders through October, which is an increase of 17% compared to this time last year. We've also seen a steady increase in ridership each month compared to the previous year, and the summer ridership remains strong. Area events have also played a role in our increased ridership, with customers take advantage of our robust service to places like MSG, UBS, Citi Field, and Barclays. We provided service to 69 more events in 2024 compared to 2023, and we work closely with those venues to ensure we have the appropriate level of service based on the expected attendance and direction of travel. One of our goals for 2024 was reducing the number of trains over 90% VC, vehicle to capacity. John Kaufman and his strategic initiative team helped create a loading dashboard which obtains data from Loadway and other sources to help identify and evaluate trains over 90% capacity. We utilize this information to assign the appropriate number of cars on our trains to minimize trains over 90%. Some of the busier trains, which periodically operate over 90%, have the maximum number of cars possible and travel at highly desired times from terminals that cannot support additional service due to infrastructure limitations. Our operations team is always looking for possible ways to improve the customer experience, and as you can see, the number of trains under 90% VC is noteworthy. For fleet performance, the MDBF for October was 215,986 miles, above our goal of 150,000 miles, and year-to-date MDBF is 161,848 miles, also above goal of 150,000 miles. Our mechanical team has implemented a process of performing proactive equipment downloads to identify issues before they materialize. The operating groups also conduct interdepartmental joint interviews after critical mechanical issues to identify root causes to increase fleet reliability. These operational achievements are the direct result of extraordinary work performed by everyone at the Long Island Railroad. Now I'd like to turn it over to my colleague Paul Dietland, Vice President, Maintenance of Way, who will highlight some of the tremendous work performed by his team.
Thank you, Tom, and good morning. So as Tom noted, we place significant emphasis on key performance metrics, and of course our infrastructure plays a critical role in achieving our on-time performance goals each year. The engineering department also knew we had to continue to harden our infrastructure and improve reliability, particularly with the increased service levels post-GCM opening. Our capital program stated good repair investments are the foundation of a sound infrastructure. And while we have a regular annual program, 2024 marked a year of significant, what we call like nuts and bolts work. Right? Year to date, we've replaced almost 17 miles of rail. We've surfaced 65 miles of track. Over 1,000 joints were eliminated. We renewed 24 grade crossings, which is more than double what we'd like to see each year. And frankly, it's been quite a bit more than the last few years because of the other competing work. We replaced almost 27,000 feet of third rail and some protection board that goes with that. Quite a bit of work accomplished this year. These focused efforts and the supporting track outages also included many other work elements, not only to address potential causes of delay, but to maximize our productivity, our efficiency, and effectiveness. Ultimately, these efforts are yielding a 21% reduction in infrastructure-related delays compared to 2023 year-to-date. And while delays are a significant concern, particularly for the customer experience, the engineering department also looks at every incident associated with our infrastructure, because every infrastructure element that gives us a trouble doesn't necessarily turn into a delay, but we're still concerned about that. We want to make sure we take necessary actions to avoid delays and impacts in the future. For example, in 2024, we set a goal of reducing switch incidents by 5% from 2023 levels. Through our analysis, we identified that head stick conditions at certain wood tie switches were the driver of switch incidents. Head sticks are the long timbers that the switch machines and rods or packages are mounted on. And in many cases, from a track structure perspective, the ties are good. However, from a switch machine adjustment point of view, they may not be good. This makes it very difficult to keep the switch in a critical adjustment. So we have systematically identified locations and replaced head sticks and perform renewals at 34 switches this year, many in the heart of our operation around Harold, Jamaica, and Valley Stream. We also replaced 17 aging switches and slip switches. This not only included the head sticks, but rail components, drainage, mud spots, the bonding, track wires, and of course the insulated joints. While not the only driving factor, this effort helped us achieve a 33% reduction in switch incidents compared to 2023 year to date. Our stated good repair is not a one-type blitz type effort. It's cyclical. It's part of our normal planned efforts to maintain the infrastructure for safe and reliable service. Ultimately, this work allows us to keep the infrastructure ready and able to handle the service we provide to our customers. I want to thank our labor forces, the hard-working men and women of the engineering department, supported by all the other operating departments. We accomplished a tremendous amount of stated good repair work this year, and that's contributed directly to our on-time performance improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. I just first want to begin to thank Rob and compliment the entire team. Just look at all the major improvements to the Long Island Railroad, the second track, the third track, access to Grand Central, and during all those projects we talked about and promised the ridership better reliability, and that certainly has proved true. And I think with the addition of the rolling stock that we see, customers should continue to see major improvements, and I think reliability is the cause for the increase in ridership because the confidence is there, and compliments to the entire crew for the efforts that you've done. So are there any questions? Yes, Vinny.
Just a quick comment. Rob and Tommy and Paul have showed appreciation to the workforce. I don't jump in and do this too often, but right now we're operating with a crew book that is the largest that I've ever had in my 30 years, with the addition of Grand Central, and there's a lot of work packed in to tight schedules, and in all of the departments, transportation, M&V, repairing, inspecting equipment, the engineering department, keeping the tracks running safe. I really, really think that our workforce deserves a lot of credit for what we've been doing in this tight time right now, and that's my shout out.
We agree. Thank you for the workforce. Jerry.
Okay, first, I'd just like to congratulate you on the excellent performance metrics from the rider standpoint. We greatly appreciate it. Just one question for clarity. On the on-time performances, how do you handle canceled trains?
A canceled train is a late train. It would be the same as a train being more than 5:59.
Thank you.
Dan?
Just one for me, and I meant to ask Rob before, but I think this is good for either of you. The on-time performance numbers, they do look great. There's one that is lower than the rest, and we've discussed it before. That's the Montauk line. And as I recall, there's specific circumstances that are present further east in the system that make it challenging here. But I guess my question for you all, as we go into 2025, what measures are you exploring to bring that number up from 93.7% to what are the even better numbers across the rest of the system?
Well, as you mentioned, Dan, there's significant impediments to the performance out there. It's between Patchogue and Montauk is 61 miles of single-track territory. Hopefully today we'll get the authorization to approve the purchase of 44 new dual-mode locomotives, which will go a long way to improving the performance out on the Montauk branch. But again, we keep talking how important and how critical the capital program is. Within the capital program is money to further study initiatives to improve service, whether it's modernization or expansion. And one of those elements is what we call interlocking, the ability to control passing sidings to allow trains to pass each other out in that territory. Right now we have about 3, I believe it is. This will expand that and create longer sidings so we can have trains operate a little further than they would. And right now we would have to hold the train, let's say, because we don't have the ability to run around another train. This would give us more flexibility in running trains. So just another piece between purchasing new rolling stock and improving the infrastructure itself and some of the elements that Tommy had talked about on a day-to-day basis to improve the reliability of the existing fleet are all pieces of the puzzle to improve that operation.
Just two follow-ups on that. So the spots for passing and also the 44 locomotives, just so I understand, is in the capital plan, is there, as contemplated, anything that would add additional spots for passing? And also, how would those 44 locomotives, how specifically would it help on a line like that?
Well, we have locomotives that are currently in service that are past their useful life. We're holding on to these locomotives to keep them running. So right there, that will improve reliability. Their mean distance between failure is low. This would increase that and ensure reliability as they operate. And within the capital program, forgive me for not being more specific, there was $800 million identified to look at those type of expansion modernization projects, and some portion of that would be used specifically to enhance the service on the South Shore.
Okay, and that would include the sorts of things that you were describing, like being
Yes.
able to pull a train
Yes.
around.
That's what
and-
we specifically would be looking at,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Okay, now we're going to hear from Justin for a special presentation on the Metro North system, their operational performance year in review.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be doing this by myself today. So good morning. Today I'll be briefing on this year's operational performance, and I will begin with safety. All right, both employee and customer injuries are trending down versus the previous period, with the customer injury rate improving over 25% and the employee injury rate improving 15% year over year. This is the result of many important initiatives we implement this year focused on employee engagement. One such initiative was our employee safety culture survey, which allowed us to gauge how we were doing as an agency. Based on the feedback we received, we implemented monthly employee engagement days where managers are now required to be in the field engaging with our employees. During these days, we cancel all meetings within the agency. We have also continued to strengthen our partnership with labor and reinvigorate programs like our confidential close call reporting system and our safety committees. Moving on to on-time performance. This is a quick historical snapshot of the OTP since our inception in 1983. And as you can see, we are at a historical high at over 98%. Over the past now 5 years, we have consistently ended the year above 97%, which is no easy feat. There is a lot that goes into achieving these numbers, especially on a continuous basis, and we will go into some of those initiatives today. But I think the most important thing to note, and the one thing that is consistent amongst them all, is the hard work and dedication of every employee to make this possible. This is truly a team effort. So last year was a very good year for us operationally, but we didn't want to rest on our laurels. We wanted to ensure we were continuing to improve the operation for our customers, and we did just that. This year, we reduced delays over 35% versus last year. Each day, we do a complete review of all the previous day delays and incidents and look for opportunities to improve going forward. Fleet reliability is also a main driver in overall operational performance. This year, we have consistently exceeded our goal month over month, as previously noted. And last year was our highest MDBF on record, and this year we are on track to match or better last year's performance. We have put a strong emphasis on understanding the reason for all equipment failures and drilling down to the root cause. We also rolled out our standard work initiative this year in partnership with labor to ensure we have a consistent approach to maintaining equipment regardless of person or shift. Our mechanical department has also begun to leverage all the data we have available. MDBF is the industry standard, but it doesn't always tell the full story. We now use many other metrics to help us understand how reliable our equipment is and where we have opportunities to improve. The team has also done a good job identifying issues prior to the equipment leaving the yard. Early identification of issues is a key component to service reliability and ensuring we do not have en route failures impacting our customers. As we look to 2025, we will start to see the new Siemens locomotives in service beginning as early as Q1. This has been a great partnership for us with Siemens. We are currently 4 months ahead of schedule, which I think we can all agree is quite unusual for new vehicle procurements. As these new locomotives enter the system, our reliability will only further improve. Train operations is another area we saw major improvements this year. Thanks to our strong partnership with our labor partners in Acre, we have been able to work together proactively to identify areas of issue and work together to improve them. Over the past few years, we have hired a large number of new employees in these crafts, and many of the challenges we saw were just with the growing pains of new and inexperienced employees. Together, the transportation and operations training departments work together to find opportunities for improvement, and we have currently begun to see those benefits. This year, we also saw the benefits of embedding the mechanical department and MTA PD in our control center. With the addition of these two areas, we are now able to more effectively and quickly address issues directly from the OCC. Quicker response with the subject matter experts has resulted in fewer train delays and quicker resolution to all issues, ensuring a seamless commute for our customers. The overall delays per incident has been reduced by over 30%. A huge thank you to Chief Mueller, Inspector Piscinelli, and Lieutenant Sullivan for their insistence in making this possible. In the laser train. So since the introduction of the industry's first 60-mile-an-hour laser train in 2022, we refreshed our approach to the slip slide season, and we have seen year-over-year improvements. We created a centralized hub to more effectively use all available tools and data to implement hour-by-hour changes in mitigating the effects of the slip slide season. Insightful weather predictions allow the OCC to implement low adhesion speed reductions, and through effective scheduling, we doubled the number of miles cleaned this year. This year, we also had an aggressive pre-true for our wheels. We found, based on historical data, that wheels trued in advance of slip slide season had a more likely chance to make it through the season without having to be retrued. This also allowed us to level load the work at the wheel true facilities and minimize the impact during the slip slide season. The result of all of this was a lower number of late trains, lowest number of delay minutes, and lowest number of wheel true expenditures slip slide on record. Ensuring safe and reliable service is not possible without proper maintenance of the infrastructure. And this year, we are on track to complete all of our maintenance goals as required. This year, we also completed 2 major infrastructure projects, both located in areas that impact over 95% of our customers. The first was the Diamond Project in Grand Central Terminal. As you can see from the photo on the left, it greatly limited our capacity in the tunnel by over 30% during the peak period. With proper planning and limited schedule modifications, we were able to complete this work on time with minimal impact to our customers. The same was also true for the work on the Park Avenue Viaduct, where thanks to proper planning and coordination, as well as proper execution, we only saw 2 delays for the duration of this project for the year. This amounts to a project OTP of over 99%. Moving on to resiliency, although it is nothing new for this committee, I think it is worth quickly noting that once again, this is one of our greatest challenges to service reliability when storms hit us. We are susceptible to weather at a number of locations throughout the system. This year, our Maintenance Away Department took the initiative to tackle a few of those locations. In Garrison, where the track was often flooded, the team raised the track to over 20 inches from its lowest point. Since this work was completed, we have not seen one train impacted due to flooding. Another area we also saw major flooding was on the Harlem line. You can see from the photo on the bottom the impact to the signal house. It was completely flooded out. It's actually below the water there. Since this flooding, the team raised this house to over 4 feet using only recycled materials, minimizing costs and impact to the environment. And looking forward, all signal houses will now be at least 4 feet above ground. So a lesser known issue to the railroad is bridge strikes. In 2023, almost 800 delay minutes were the result of these incidents. This is not only an operational issue, but also a safety issue. To help address this, we have begun working with local municipalities to improve signage and adjust traffic flow wherever possible. As you can see, we have already begun to see the benefits of these initiatives by reducing delay minutes by over 50%. To further these improvements, we recently installed a striker beam at Steamboat Road in Greenwich, a location with a high number of hits. The beam is essentially a sacrificial beam, and if drivers fail to see the numerous warnings, they will strike this beam prior to hitting the actual bridge structure. This will help ensure the safety of the structure. Once fully implemented, this will improve the overall safety of the operation. And another lesser-known impact to the operations is bridge openings. On the New Haven line, one of the busiest lines in the nation, bridge openings had the potential to have a major impact during peak periods with immediate openings required during our busiest times. Now, thanks to the hard work of the team over the past year or so, working closely with the U.S. Coast Guard, openings during these hours are no longer required and advance notice is required for openings at other times. So this year, we not only delivered safe and reliable service, but we also improved the trip times for many of our customers. This year, we offered the fastest run time from New Haven to Grand Central Terminal for our New Haven line AMP customers at 90 minutes. We also reduced the overall trip time for customers on the New Haven line. As we continue to make enhancements to the infrastructure, we look to more trip time savings for our customers in 2025. And to close, a quick update on PTC per Commissioner Zuckerman's request. As you can see, we continue to address open issues with Siemens and Alstom's, but overall, we see the many benefits of PTC. We have also begun to utilize PTC to allow us to operate more efficiently in areas and eliminate many restrictions that were in place prior to PTC. Some of these enhancements allowed us to improve the trip times on the New Haven line, as I previously mentioned. So to summarize, we saw major employee and customer safety improvements. Our on-time performance and service delivered was at an all-time high. We are on track to hit all of our maintenance and production goals. We addressed major infrastructure projects with minimal impact to our customers. Our customer satisfaction continued to remain high, and we reduced our operating budget through operating efficiencies by over $50 million this year. None of this would be possible with the hard work and dedication of the entire Metro North team. No matter the challenge, this team always rises to the occasion and delivers the exceptional service our customers expect and deserve. I would like to personally thank them all for all that they do each and every day. Thank you. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Justin. Randy?
I want to give a shout out to both railroads for the wonderful service you provide and, of course, the employees that did everything. I had the privilege to ride the laser train, and I was very impressed with the dedication of the forces there. I took a Sunday to go down to look at the Park Avenue Viaduct work, and again, came away very impressed with what the people were doing there. And the holiday train for the employees was an amazing thing that the railroad has done. And so I just thank you all for a great year that you did.
Thank you, Neil.
Justin, we went through that PTC piece very quickly. My summation of that slide, could we put that back up, whoever our AV guy is? Oh, it's you? All right, well, man of many talents. Thank you. So we can move my picture so I can, yeah, thank you. So this looks to be a summary of the product itself, like the functionality of it. I'm as interested in how many times we actually used it. Like, was the whole purpose of putting in place was to prevent accidents. The whole purpose of putting in place was to ensure that we had automated way of stopping. And I won't repeat all the things that my memory falters in remembering all the functionality, but has it been deployed? Does it get deployed often? Is it very rare? How often is it used? Or I shouldn't say used, but how often is it engaged, if you will?
Well, I guess I'm not really quite sure I understand the question. I mean, I think go ahead, yeah.
So I think you're interested in how often there's an enforcement from the system. So right now it's a manual process. We're working with the vendors to figure out how to automate that, but really it depends on the engineer reporting it to us. But I mean, I could say obviously we haven't had any run-through signals or anything on those circumstances, but we are working with the vendor to figure out how to automate that, because that is a learning opportunity, right? We want to make sure that our employees don't get used to the system too much and use it as a fail-safe. We want to make sure they're able to run the train even if the system's not in place. So we're working on that.
I think it's important to note that PTC is an overlay to an existing speed control system, so it's just something that's always there and ever existent. So between the speed control and then the PTC helps you with your civil enforcement of certain, curvatures and things like that, knock it down. But it's ever existent. It's an overlay to speed control, so it's really, I don't want to say it's a backup system, but it's there as well. So it's part of the normal day-to-day operations.
Satisfied? Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. All right. Thank you, Justin. Okay, now the safety reports for the railroads are both in the book, so you can take a look at that. And now we're going to move on to the MTA police report. And Police Taffy, provide the report, please.
Hey, good morning. Today I'll be presenting the November 2024 policing report. Major crime across the rail systems remains low, with 15 major crimes reported against passengers in November, which is a 7% decrease compared to the same period last year. Notably, this reduction occurred despite increase in ridership. Most of these incidents involve grand larceny, primarily related to unintended property. However, assaults against police officers and conductors continues to be a concern. Assaults on officers are up this year, largely linked to the increase in enforcement of crimes and quality of life violations. There were 2 assaults on conductors in November, both stemming from fare disputes. One resulted in an arrest from officers who happened to be in the station at that time after a brief foot pursuit. The other one is currently under investigation. The department remains committed to addressing fare evasion and improving response times in collaboration with the rail systems. Fare evasion summonses have increased over 360%, and arrests are up more than 130%. We are also continuing the pilot program of embedding police supervisors in the rail center, as was just mentioned by Justin. This initiative is helping to improve response times and service calls and ensuring more effective management of our train patrols, which are actually up 15% for the year. As we approach the new year, we remain focused on ensuring the safety of riders through these and other proactive efforts. And this concludes the November 2024 police report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief? Yes, Vinny.
Not a question as much as a comment. The train patrols, as you know, are working out very well. I just want to emphasize, and if you could pass along the importance to keep those train patrols staffed properly. We've seen that when things happen out in the field, rightfully so, forces need to be dispatched to other locations for emergencies and whatnot, but the importance of those train patrols to support our crews and your police officers as well from those continued assaults is so vital. So I would just ask that we keep the proper train patrol numbers up and covered, as well as the support to the events, particularly on Long Island between UBS and the inspection program that's working out very well in New York. Without police officers standing with our train crews, it does not work as well. So just, all I would request is we keep those staffing numbers up.
I agree. We focus, one of our primary concerns is train patrol and the focus on it.
Okay, thank you. Kathy?
I just wanted really to extend my thanks to Chief Taffy and Chief Mueller for the tremendous cooperation we've gotten with respect to the embedding in the OCC. It's made a tremendous difference on a couple levels. Managing events in the field, like if we have a trespasser strike or a trespasser on the right-of-way, to be able to coordinate with the PD and with local police and using them as sort of the conduit to the local PD has been enormously helpful with respect to mitigating the effects of those kinds of incidents, and also to really assist in our fare collection efforts. I mean, the coordination with respect to intercepting a train where we've got a persistent fare evader and really minimizing the impact upon the overall operation and allowing us to deliver the reliable performance that Justin just described. So just want to extend my thanks to Chief Taffy, Chief Mueller, Chuck Pissanelli, everybody who's really worked together so hard to be able to bring that partnership to fruition. We're very grateful, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any other comments? Okay. Thank you again. Now we're going to move on to the action items. Kathy, can you please take us through the Metro North action items?
So there are 2 and they're interrelated. So the first is authorizing the acceptance of a CMAQ grant, that's Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Grant, up to $365,000 to be able to support our connecting services. I think we do this every single year. This is money that we get from DOT to be able to support the connecting services that we operate. So that's the ferry services as well as the Hudson Railing bus. The second is an item that one of the public speakers alluded to, which is another amendment to our MOU with the City of Newburgh with respect to the provision of docking and parking facilities that support the Newburgh Beacon Ferry. Some of the CMAQ money in the aforementioned first item will go towards defraying the expenses of the second item, and we've done this every year for some time. So those are the 2 action items, and we answer any questions that the committee might have.
Okay, any questions? Being none, okay. Now the agency information items. Rob, can you take us through the information items for the Long Island Railroad?
Sure, Chair. For the information items for Long Island Railroad, we have the 2025 final proposed budget, The 2025 proposed committee work plan is in there, which are slight changes to give us more flexibility. All the normal information will be readily available throughout 2025. It just gives us more information. As you can see, these type of presentations we feel are more helpful. So we'll move forward with those type of changes. The diversity EEO report for the third quarter is in there as well. Excuse me. The year-end holiday service, which I touched on, and the review of the committee charter as well. Those are it for the Long Island Railroad information items.
Thank you. And Kathy, can you take us through your information items?
Sure. So mostly the same as the Long Island. We have the proposed budget, the proposed committee work plan, and Rob and I worked very closely to align the work plans for the two railroads. The diversity and EEO report, the review of the committee charter. There's also an item that also one of the public speakers alluded to, which is the Wakefield TOD development. It's a project that's been in the works for a while. It's actually going to finance for approval today. It's part of the Finance Committee agenda. It's really just here for informational purposes for this committee because the committee has taken an interest in TOD projects in the past, really an important part of how we make commuter rail services more accessible to the region. So it's a major project that we're very happy about. So I just wanted to bring it to the attention of this committee.
Great, thank you. Okay, the finance reports for the railroads are in the book, and on to procurements. There's one procurement for the Long Island Railroad and two procurements for Metro North this month. And we're really excited to have Maura. Can you take us through the Long Island Railroad procurement?
Good morning, everyone. As already mentioned by Long Island Railroad President Rob Free, I'm pleased to announce that LIRR is presenting to you for approval a request to exercise an option under a contract awarded to Siemens Mobility for the design, manufacture, testing, and delivery of up to 44 dual-mode locomotives in the amount of $787.5 million. The base contract awarded as a result of a competitive RFP was approved by the board December 2020. Included options for additional locomotives for Metro North Railroad, Long Island Railroad, New York State DOT, and Connecticut DOT. The option locomotives established at the time of award is subject to a price adjustment based on a formula that incorporates several price indices. The 44 dual-mode locomotives under this option are needed to replace existing LIRR passenger diesel locomotives that are beyond their service life. These locomotives will provide improved reliable passenger service to Long Island Railroad's diesel branch customers. Additionally, they will reduce LIRR's carbon footprint featuring engines that meet Tier 4 emission regulations. These locomotives will provide eco-friendliness by cutting airborne emissions by more than 85%. Delivery is anticipated to begin in 2027 and completed in 2031. Siemens has the experience, technical capability, resources, and facilities to perform the work under this contract. Metro North received the first two MNRs option for Siemens locomotives, which have successfully completed Phase 1 testing on schedule in Pueblo, Colorado. They are now in Phase 2 testing in Metro North environment and are expected to enter passenger service in early 2025. The 2020 to 2024 capital plan will fully fund 5 locomotives, and 39 locomotives are contingent upon approval of the 20 to 25 to 20 to 29 capital plan. I submit this procurement for board approval.
Thank you. Do you have any comments? Dan?
Yes, thank you very much. So I appreciate all that information. I've learned some things, and some of the actions here predate my service on the board. So it sounds like this contract was initially approved in December of 2020, which is what gives rise to the options that we're talking about today. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the board has acted at least one time before under this contract, maybe multiple times under this contract for the acquisition of locomotives. Is that right? Previously?
Yes.
Okay. The price that we're talking about here, you noted there's a price adjustment that's included in the contract. The price for these 44 locomotives at $787 million for the 44 comes out to about $18 million per locomotive. the last time, in June of 2023, when the board approved this, there were 6 locomotives for $78 million, which came out to around $13 million per locomotive. Tell me about the difference between the $13 million per locomotive and the $18 million per locomotive over the span of about 18 months. If that is the price adjustment that was included in the contract, feels like a very big increase in cost over a short period of time, but I wanted to give you a chance to address that.
The $787.5 million includes escalation up through 2031. So it's projected escalation. So there's escalation up until when we issue, up until now, because the escalation starts at NOA through now, and then we projected escalation through 2031. And then there are some change orders that were done on the Long Island Railroad side for the cars to work operationally on the Long Island Railroad, that are just for Long Island Railroad, that were not, that they were actually what we called spec exemptions, that were not included in the original base contract.
Okay, so $787.6 million includes escalation costs between now and whatever time we ultimately buy those locomotives, recognizing that that's not happening right this minute.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and also there were some change orders
Yes.
on prior
Yeah.
acquisitions from Siemens or well, tell us what those change orders were. Those are included in the $787 million too. Is that right?
Yes. You want to talk to the change orders, Craig?
Sure. There are a few change orders, and they're, like Maura mentioned, they're to allow the locomotives to operate with our current coach fleet and even our future coach fleet, and to allow kind of a continuity of operations for the crews that operate them. For instance, one of them is to the head-end power system. We run a lot of longer trains. The head-end power system that's currently configured with the charger locomotives is limited, so we needed to have them configure them to operate with our longer trains, especially when we add a second locomotive to the other end. It'll also allow them to operate with our current locomotives when we have a mixed fleet. So that's part of a technical change. We have provisions for a future PA and intercom system for the engineers so they could communicate with the passengers and the crew members instead of just trying to get a hold of them with a radio. And there's a few others, change of third rail and change of other items that are, some of them were included, some of them they found some additional costs that we needed to add on.
Okay, so it sounds like my rough math of per locomotive cost is not a fair description of what it actually is, considering the fact that escalation is built in, change orders are built in. What then is a fair description of the escalation then for the acquisition of these locomotives between what we've done before, what we're doing now? Like, what does that escalation look like in the contract from December of 2020? I'm asking you if I want to know per locomotive what and to the extent it's delineated that way in the contract, what are we paying on an increased basis over time for each locomotive?
I think we should get back to you and break out the difference between what's escalation that's in the contract and the option versus what's change orders, which is really required to make these locomotives operable for Long Island Railroad.
Okay, let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Jerry.
No, I just wanted to thank the people who are doing the procurement for going all dual mode, because right now we have a mixed bag, and it gives us a lot more flexibility, and it'll be a lot better for the rider experience. So I just want to thank you for going strictly dual mode on this.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Well, thank you, Maura. Now we're going to move on to the Metro North procurements. We have 2. Omar?
Good morning, Mark. Thank you, Rob, Kathy. Good morning, everyone. Metro North has 2 procurement actions for this month's board. First, Metro-North seeks MTA Board approval to award a 4-year competitive solicited miscellaneous service contract with 3 2-year options in the not-to-exceed amount of $44.3 million to Port Imperial Ferry Corporation, doing business as New York Waterway, to provide ferry and ancillary service for the Haverstraw, Ossining, and Newburgh Beacon routes. Under this contract, New York Waterway provides weekly scheduled commuter ferry service during the morning and evening peak. New York Waterway will also provide ancillary services such as maintenance of the parking facilities, trash and snow removal, and maintenance of the berths. In the event of ferry disruptions, New York Waterway will be required to provide contingency bus services. Weekend ferry services are available under the contract as an option. Under an RFP, New York Waterway, the incumbent contractor, was the sole proposer responding to the solicitation. New York Waterway was evaluated by the selection committee under a set of criteria such as past performance, technical capability, and cost. Through negotiations, Metro-North was able to reduce the initial hourly operations rate, which represents 90% of the overall cost of the service, by 1.4%. This represents a savings of approximately $916,000, inclusive of the base and option periods. This award is to be funded by Metro-North's operating budget and other state and federal subsidies. Second, Metro-North, on behalf of itself and the Long Island Railroad, seeks MTA Board approval for a 3-year plus 2 1-year options contract, non-competitive estimated quantities, miscellaneous procurement, to the firm BBM Railway Equipment, LLC, to provide preventative maintenance, inspection, repair, and parts supply for car hoists and truck turntables in the estimated amount of $4.5 million. Both railroads use this equipment as part of its rail car maintenance operations to lift, turn, and rotate and move rail vehicles and truck assemblies for routine inspections, maintenance, and repair. This equipment was originally supplied to the railroads by Macton Corporation, which in 2019 BBM acquired all of Macton's machinery, material, and intellectual property. Through negotiations, the railroads obtained reductions from the initial pricing on several line items for parts and services, and secured fixed pricing for both the base and option periods, which resulted in a savings of $295,000. This award is to be funded by each railroad's operating budget. If there aren't any questions, may I have a vote for these procurements?
Have any questions? There being none, you get off easy.
Thank you, Mark.
That, I believe, concludes the business. Since we do not have a quorum, other meetings, that decision will be referred to the full board meeting. So we conclude this meeting at this time. Thank you all.